I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, it's the time of year when people are looking at health care plans for next year. Maybe it's your company plan or affordable care enrollment time, but also Medicare. And today joining me is Allison Riddle with the Area Agency on Aging. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I know you're the expert at the agency when it comes to Medicare, so I appreciate you coming out today and helping us out. Let's start off with a basic definition. Of course, we're dealing with audience members of all ages. Some people might be on Medicare, others are thinking it's years away. So what is Medicare? How do you define it?
Well, Medicare is the health plan that is available that we pay into out of our paychecks. If you look at your paycheck,
there's something taken out each time you get a check.
It will say usually there's a code or med or something like that, and we, over the course of our work history, we do pay into that. Most people do, unless you're self-employed or you don't work. But over time, at some point in time, the majority of us will want to draw out of that Medicare. It is considered a social program. It's administered by the government. And for most of us, that magic number is 65 years of age. There are certain situations, if someone has been on disability for 24 months, 2 years, they are usually eligible to sign up for Medicare. It's administered, the Medicare enrollment portion of it, starting on it is administered through Social Security, which is a little bit confusing to some people. But when you get to that point, it's good to know how it works and if you qualify or not. Most people will qualify because of them paying into it. There have been some situations where people haven't paid enough into it and earned enough points,
credits or points to be able to take money back out.
Right, and that's not a good feeling to have when you get up to be 65, but the majority of people have paid in and worked and pay into it. So it is a good program to have available to you when you're not working anymore, for sure.
So it was originally, I guess 65 was the magic age for retirement. Now we're going to look at what are we going to do keeping people medically covered after they retire.
Right, and with Medicare, it's complicated, but to try to kind of keep it simple, Medicare is made up of mainly 4 parts. Well, there is A, B, C, D.
So there's all these letters representing different parts of Medicare.
The main portions of Medicare would be the Medicare A, which is the hospital portion, which covers you when you go to the hospital, and that is what we are paying into for the most part. When people turn 65 or become eligible, they are eligible for that for free. When I say free,
out of pocket
premium
cost,
free, premium free. Medicare pays 80%, so it isn't completely.
It's not totally coverage, right?
No. And then Medicare Part B is the medical part, the office visits, and that comes with a premium. This year it's about $122 a month, and that is something that you do have to pay. So it isn't. It's not like Medicaid.
So it's not a need-based program. It's out there for every American who's
paid into
their life.
it. Yes, exactly.
Together.
Exactly.
Well, today we'll hopefully try to answer some of the questions. And as people hear about, you see commercials on TV, it's enrollment time. You know, they might be saying, "What does this mean?" I imagine if you're 65, you're already well aware of it. But there may be some viewers who might have parents coming of that age, or their spouse is getting close. So I thought we'd try to answer some of those questions. But there's a specific time period when you have to make some decisions.
Open enrollment, Medicare open enrollment is during every year from October 15th to December 7th. And during that time is when you can change your prescription drug portion of Medicare. You can change, if you are on a Medicare Advantage plan, you can actually move to an Advantage plan during that period of time. There are certain things that you can do. Usually it's best in your specific situation. We always recommend first and foremost, if they have questions about their specific Medicare account, to call 1-800-MEDICARE. But during open enrollment for our agency, our busy time is for the prescription drug portion is what we do. That's
what a lot of people look at changing on an annual basis.
Yes.
And so forth. Now, some confusion perhaps this year and in the recent years with the, we hear about the open enrollment for the affordable care marketplace type thing.
The healthcare.gov. That starts in November 1st and runs through the spring. So it does, it happens around the same time as the Medicare open enrollment. They're completely 2 separate things. They just happen to be around the same time. So
keep them straight, whichever one you're working with.
But they are completely separate. People that are on the marketplace plans are not eligible for Medicare.
Okay.
So if you are eligible for Medicare, you could not buy a marketplace plan.
So there are two different things you're
They
dealing with. Right? Now, people who, as you mentioned, retirement age, people are getting close to retirement age and they may have company insurance. Did they look at then what happens when I leave that company as far as coverage? And
Right.
is there, I guess, a time gap if they retire before 65 they have to fill in?
Usually, if they retire before 65, they do need to think about their medical situation. Some employers will provide insurance. I've seen some individuals who are not at Medicare eligible will take out COBRA, or they will get on a marketplace plan if they're not 65 or if they're not eligible for Medicare. Unfortunately, if someone does retire at, let's say, the age of 63, they are going to be either, if they have insurance through their work, great. If they don't, they need to think about that, because there will be that gap of period of
So
time.
you can't touch Medicare till you're 65 in that
Most situations, unless you're, like I said, unless you're disabled. And there are people that are, leave work because of a disability, but usually it's a case-by-case basis. And so if they're not Medicare eligible, then they need to think about that period of time. So we see a lot of people wait longer to retire now.
Because of that insurance question.
Yes, because of the insurance.
People holding off on doing that. Well, annual reviews, I mean, if you have someone who's had Medicare and they're over 65, they've had it for years, is it important to go back and look at what you have?
It is. A lot of the time, people will sign up for certain things when they first become eligible for 65 and go 10 years. Medicare Part D, for example, has been around since 2006. So we see people who have been on the same prescription drug plan for 10 years. And Medicare's, those Part D plans, they are allowed to change them on a yearly basis. They can change premiums, deductibles, how much they pay for prescriptions. So what was good for them in 2006 may not necessarily be good for them in 2016. So on the average, people can save. I've seen some people save 50 to 75% off their prescription drugs if they review
And do a different plan.
Yes, and it's very easy to change. They just need to do a little bit of footwork, and it can save them a lot of money.
Well, that sounds like a question a lot of people have. What about the footwork, the work that's involved? Do you have resources locally with your office? And then there are websites as well that help people out.
We do. If they are dealing with Medicare A and B, that is through the Medicare, 1-800-MEDICARE. There are no local Medicare offices.
So you can't go down the street and sit down and talk to somebody.
Go to someone at the Medicare office. Those Medicare offices don't exist. So finding local help is difficult. There are counselors that are trained at our office. Missouri Claim is set up. Each state has their own organization that kind of deals with that. And we do the same thing that Claim does. So we will refer them to either, if we can't help them, we will refer them on to one of the claim counselors. If it's if it's a specific situation with their insurance plan, such as if they have purchased a supplement plan, we have a list of independent agents in the area. We don't refer specifically to an agent. We just give them the information and encourage them to go talk to someone.
Here's the list. You can call someone on this list, right?
Yes, or if they have someone that they trust or someone that their insurance agent has recommended, then by all means, just go to someone that they trust and can talk to. And so we answer a lot of those questions, and we do get a lot of questions about the solicitations during the Medicare open enrollment, and that's a big problem too.
We see a lot of that advertising, whether it's on TV or you pick up magazines, and how does someone judge? Is this for true, or is this someone just trying to take my money?
Well, for example, the secretary at our office, she'll just tell them to shred those because they're specific. Your specific needs may not be met by that plan that you received.
That came in.
Right. So we encourage them to do a counseling appointment and to talk to an agent that can go over the different plans with them, and not one that's just specifically with a certain company. They're salesmen, just like any other. But our agency is non-for-profit, and the services are free. And so we encourage people also to go to Claim. It's also free, and we do similar counseling, and to just get unbiased opinions about certain things, or unbiased resources.
Get the resources before you have to talk to the salesperson.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. And I know that you mentioned Medicare, the phone number. There's a website, Medicare.gov. Tell us a little bit about what that has to offer.
Well, Medicare.gov, that was claimed. That's okay. Medicare.gov is the government's website for Medicare, obviously, and there it is. And you can find really they try to keep it as simple as possible. You know, you can find information about all the different parts of Medicare. You can search for drug plans. You can get answers to a lot of different questions. So for people that are on the internet, and we do still see a lot of seniors that do not get on the internet.
So they can't go on research this way.
But as time goes on, we're seeing more and more of it, and we encourage them to go to the websites and to just look through it. And they also get a book in the mail. It's called Medicare and You Handbook. Every year they get a book, and you know, try to encourage them to research these things too. I mean, they can call us and we'll answer whatever questions and do our best there. But we do encourage them. You know, you can also go look at this book, and yeah, and if you have other questions about coverages or the difference, you know, please by all means access those resources and take advantage of them.
I noticed on that website it had a column that said find doctors or hospitals. So are there certain limitations sometimes as far as which hospitals or doctors, you know, accept Medicare coverage?
Well, yeah, exactly. There are. I mean, not all doctors take Medicare. So they're just trying to, you know, like a one-stop place for you to go and get answers to your questions and at least get started. Right. But for our purposes, we use that website. They do have a drug finder on there for the Medicare Part D plans. And we do use that website a lot during this period of time because it gets confusing sometimes, yeah.
Are prescription drugs still a major portion of seniors' expenses for healthcare?
They are. They are. I will tell you that the things that I see, the conditions that people have that have the most expensive drugs, especially the name brand that they don't have generics yet. Those are still very high.
Cost.
Yeah, $1,000 a month sometimes for some of these prescriptions, and diabetes, heart problems, COPD. And asthma. Those are the main problems that I see daily with people that have, you know, over the years they've developed conditions and that they're now dealing with those. So
they have to have these prescriptions to continue you know, their health.
Yes.
But the cost of them present such major challenges.
It is. And when Medicare Part D first came into existence in 2006 is when people first started signing up for Medicare Part D. People, a lot of the time, they weren't really explained to how important it was, because if you don't sign up for a Medicare prescription drug plan or have some kind of drug coverage, whether it's through your work or through Part D, you can be penalized later on down the line if you enroll later.
So do it early as soon as you're eligible.
Do it when you're eligible. There is a period of time that you're allowed to enroll. You're given it's actually a 7-month window. So you have the 3 months before you become eligible for Medicare, the month you become eligible for Medicare, and the 3 months after. So you have 7 months to sign up for these.
So in the case of someone retiring in the middle of summer, for instance, they would be looking in the spring and throughout the summer on choosing these plans.
Right. And, you know, they're open, just like any other insurance, they're open enrollments. For people who turn 65, it's your birthday month. So my birthday's in August. So when I turn 65 in the middle of August, Medicare for me will kick in August 1st. If you are working and you have drug insurance through your company, then you're good. But if you don't, you have that certain period of time, and it all is all based on your Medicare start date is when you should apply.
So you really, as you get closer to 65, you need to start doing the research if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, and I do get a lot of calls and a lot of visits about that, and that's fine. That's what we're there for. You know, I like to educate people and kind of give them, empower them to have more knowledge about it and to not be so afraid of it.
Right. On the other hand, somebody who may be more elderly, they've had Medicare, they're in their, say, 70s or 80s, they've had it for years. It's important maybe for them the family members need to be aware of what mom has and what we're working with.
Yeah, we get a lot of people, the older seniors, I like to call them, that are in their 80s and 90s, who may have been on Medicare for a long time and never signed up for a Part D, or don't know what Part D they're on, or they have no clue what they're on. And so we try to find that out and help them with that. And a lot of seniors who may only be taking a few prescriptions don't have drug coverage. For some people, that's okay. My grandma never had a Part D plan. She just bought generics and that was it.
She didn't need those as more expensive than prescriptions.
But if someone doesn't sign up for a Part D and then later down the line they get sick and they need these high cost drugs, then that's where it can be a problem, because then they come back and say to Medicare, whoops, I didn't sign up for a prescription drug plan when I was eligible, and it's been 5 years, and now I have, a heart problem or diabetes. And so Medicare is going to say, okay, well, you can sign up during open enrollment, but we're going to penalize you for that. And the penalty, it goes on for the rest of their lives.
So they're always going to pay that amount more throughout that.
Yeah, so it's important to know when you're eligible, what your options are, and to choose accordingly. It's just like any other insurance. You pay into it, you may use it, you may not, but it's there if you need it. So.
And Medicare being an individual plan, I mean, you have couples, for instance, they retire, you have a husband and a wife, so the husband's covered, the wife's covered, they're both on their own individual plans.
They're on their individual plans.
When someone maybe works for a company, the husband covers both, but their medical plan. Right.
Sometimes, you see different things. You see the wife is Medicare eligible and the husband is too young for Medicare, and maybe the husband's working, and if the wife has coverage through her husband, then she doesn't have to take out the second part of Medicare that costs money. So they can save money there. It's really just an individual situation. But you have your own Medicare card, your own Medicare number, and it's really viewed as separate. Husband and wife are not on the same Medicare plan.
Tied to the specific person, that is your coverage.
It is. It's tied to the specific person.
But do you see couples then that plan together too when it comes time to make those decisions?
They do. A lot of them think that they need to be on the same plan. When I say plan, I mean either a supplement plan that helps pay costs that Medicare doesn't cover, or a prescription drug plan. And if the husband and wife are on completely different medicines, then it really doesn't make any sense because they have different needs. So we try to go through and view, husband as one person and the wife as the other person with their different needs. And so we try to save them money the best way we can by focusing on what they need specifically and the best way to do that.
So if someone were to come in and visit with you or come to your office and say, I need some help, what do you recommend they bring with them as far as supporting materials?
Well, I usually will have them bring their Medicare card. And I have them bring their prescription drug list. Those are the two main things. We ask for their birthday and their zip code and what county they live in. And what we do is we will go through and look at their prescription drug plan and what they're on. I ask them if they're happy with it, if they've had any problems. Have they had problems? Have any of their prescriptions gone up? Or have they been prescribed any new drugs? Sometimes they are very happy with the plan and they want to stay with it. Other times they say, it's just not working.
Too much now, I've got to change.
Right. So we go through that and we figure out what they've been paying. And, it's so personalized that, and the costs vary, that you really have to just sit down and look through everything and kind of talk to them about it and ask them, what is your budget? And during that period of time, I will usually screen them for some of those extra help programs.
If you're on a limited budget, there's some extra support out there to help.
Right, and I'll ask them things like, what's your, if you don't mind asking, what's your monthly income? And a lot of the time, they don't know about those programs, so we can help there too. So I try to do quite a few different things in one appointment. So I try to set aside about an hour per person, and we just go through those.
And you have set times, people call you. Let's talk about how they can contact the area agency.
Well, we take appointments, and they can call our office. Our number is 781-7562. We do serve Jasper, Newton, Barton, and McDonald counties. We really, if people come over from the Kansas side, depending on our availability, but we're primary for Missouri. Obviously. And they can call and make an appointment, and we're taking appointments up until December 7th. So
now's the time to be calling you.
Yes, give us a call. I know we're pretty booked, but we have some spots, so have them give us a call. And they can also call Claim too, Missouri Claim, and I don't know their number by.
But Missouri Claim was one of the websites we had, and they also have resources where people will be able to meet. They have times in the different communities where people can get together.
They do. They're at Mercy. They're at Freeman. They go out to our senior centers. They're all over the place. Libraries. They're really active this time of year. So there is help out there. They just need to know where to go.
Where to go. So if you live in a surrounding community, maybe not in Joplin or close by, there might be probably, say, McDonald County, something happening in that county helping you out.
I know they have some things going on down in the library there, and they have one at the Newton County Library, and and they do them up here in Joplin, and then they're even up in Barton County.
So all throughout the region. And then people who watch across the state line in Kansas, Oklahoma, their states probably have some sort of similar service.
They
as
should.
well.
They should, yeah.
And help them out and so forth. But what do you find, you've been doing this for quite a while, helping people, what do you find most enjoyable about helping, with people solve these Medicare puzzles, I guess?
Well, sometimes people will call and say, I'm having trouble paying for my electric bill, or I'm having trouble paying for food. And usually what we can do is find out where their money's going and what their high costs are. And a lot of the time it's their prescriptions or their health costs. So if we can get those costs down and help them, whether it's through programs or saving money on their prescriptions on a monthly basis, it puts more money in their pocket, and then that allows them to have more money to spend and to pay for things like their electric bill. So what we can do is, having someone say to me, I'm saving $70 a month now, thank you. That's great. I mean, that makes me feel good because we're able to save them money, and that's the whole goal, is to make sure they're not overpaying.
And then many people, saving that little bit of money is going to help them build to the future as well.
Yes, yeah. And, some of our programs help pay for the Part B premium. They help pay for the drug plan premiums, and that can add up. We've seen some people get, they can have benefits paid for them. The programs can help pay $200 plus a month. Can come back in their pocket. And when you're a senior and you're on a limited income, a lot of people are only on the Social Security benefits. A lot of people don't have retirement now. So it makes a huge difference in their lives.
And that, looking to the future, we hear about the baby boomer generation reaching that retirement age and so forth. More people entering the system, maybe just depending on Social Security. They don't have those nest eggs as maybe other generations had.
Most of who I see, they don't have nest eggs. Most of the people that we do talk to are strictly on Social Security. So it's an eye-opener. It definitely makes you more aware of what you're doing in your life and how and what we'll have to face when we get older and what we're going to have to deal with.
So kind of for everybody, whether you're young or old.
Exactly. You do need to think about it because it comes along really fast.
Do you find that confusion? You mentioned Medicaid earlier. Sometimes confusion between Medicaid and Medicare. Somebody says, well, what's it take to get on Medicaid?
The difference is Medicaid is income-based, and it's through the state. So you have Medicaid, which is each state has their own Medicaid program. In Missouri, it's Mo Health Net. And the income guidelines are completely, they do have income guidelines.
But each state does develop its own guidelines. Each
state develop its own guidelines. They're both run through the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, so that kind of confuses people. But Medicaid is run through the state, and Medicare is a federal program. And so, like you were talking about someone over in Kansas, they can actually come over and I can help look up their drug plans for them if they need to, which I have done that before for people in Kansas or for people
because we're right on state line.
We're right on the state line. But for Medicaid, they would need to, it's administered through the Department of Family Services. And so we will refer them to Family Services and encourage them to go there, or I can help with printing out an application for them. And we'll just kind of lead them, say you'll need to fill this out and take this to this office.
Here's where to go to get this services and so forth.
Some people are on both. Some seniors are on Medicaid and Medicare. They are referred to as dual eligible, so they're on both, and that does happen. There's a program called Mo Health Net for the aged, blind, and disabled, and so that is it's a part of Medicaid. It's part of Mo Health Net. Specifically for people that are seniors or blind or disabled.
So qualifications that you have to meet. So a lot of times, like you say, it's just an awareness of what's out there and what you need to do.
It is, and some people call, and once you explain it takes a few minutes. Thank you, I get it now, and that's all they needed was just a little bit of information to go the next step. And
I can see how people maybe go through their lifetime. Maybe they're working for a company, have a health care plan. You really don't think about it. It's what you have to work with, and then suddenly you've got to make all these decisions.
Yes. Yeah, and people will come in with huge stacks of their Medicare handbook and all of the flyers they've received in the mail. And somehow these insurance companies know when you're turning 65, and it's like the floodgates open. Yes.
So where do we go from here?
And so I'll say, okay, put these aside. You don't need to look at those. You need to find what's right for you specifically, and just stop and think for a second. And then I ask them questions and say, okay, you're working or you're not working. We've figured that out, and Do you have insurance through your employer or through your spouse? No. Okay, well then you need to look at a supplement plan or go to an agent, and these are the things that you need to think about. And usually by the end of the appointment, they have a better understanding of the things that they do need to think about for their situation.
Kind of give them a checklist to say,
Yes.
okay, I need this, this, and this. Then.
And there are checklists. There are timelines. You know, you have to have this done by this, and so it's like anything. We have what we call a roadmap to Medicare, and it's just a flyer at our office, and it says, okay, here you are. These are the choices that you need to make, and think about it and the best for you. And usually once people get to that point, they can usually answer and say, okay, this is, I think, what I'm going to do. And then from there, it gets taken care of.
So it doesn't become overwhelming. It's just
Right,
a matter of making
right.
the picture clear for
Right.
them in many cases. Well, we mentioned your phone number. Tell people how to find your office in Joplin as well.
Well, our phone number, again, is 781-7562. Our office, we are located at 531 East 15th. We're there from 8 to noon and 1 to 4 are our hours. For Medicare appointments, highly encourage you to call ahead. You know, I'm the only one doing the appointment, so if I'm gone, they would have wasted a trip. So it's always best to call ahead and make an appointment, and then I know you're coming, and I can set aside time, you know, to talk to you and figure out what's needed, and you know, just anything we can do to help.
And you also have a website that'll give them resources, not only about this, but
Other
everything
things.
you have at the agency.
Right. It's www.aaaregionx.org.
Okay. And Region X standing for Region 10, because I guess the
Region
state is
10.
divided up into different regions.
We're number 10. We are the last
down in the corner of the
area
state.
agency on aging, yes.
Okay, but that's where we'll find out about this and the other services, because I know the agency has a lot of other services for people in our community.
We do. We do the Meals on Wheels program, the senior centers. We also have family caregiver services for people that are caring for their loved ones or family members. We help out. We part of under our umbrella is some transportation like MAPS and OATS, and then we also we have kind of a partnership with Legal Aid to help provide legal services for seniors. All of our services are for people over 60. The Medicare portion is the only portion of our agency that I can actually help anyone that is on Medicare. Okay. So they don't have to be 60. But everything else is specifically
60 is
for
the magic
60.
age for getting services.
60. When people say, what is a senior? I say, well, for our purposes, senior is 60. So I do see people that are not Medicare age yet, but they can receive our services if they're 60. And, you know, we just try to, we also do health and prevention classes, and just really whatever the need is in the area, we try to help as much as we can.
And we hear a lot about our society aging. You're going to have more and more seniors coming in for services in future years.
Yes, yes. They're building a new senior center over near the new I think it's Mercy Park, where St. John's used to be, on the park area. We'll overlook the park, so we're really looking forward to that. That'll be really nice. And so hopefully once we have the bigger senior center, we'll be able to do more activities, exercise classes, and things like that. Great. So as time goes on, things change, and we're hoping to make it more of a cafe-style seating arrangement. So for the seniors that are the baby boomers and getting, you know, the senior centers of yesteryear are a lot different than the senior centers now.
Tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Well, Allison, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on this station. We'll see you then.